Hello everyone, I'm Chris Mazzillo, Solid Snake's son, and this is a review of episode Prompto, Final Fantasy 15, episode Prompto. Last year saw the release of Final Fantasy 15, which was a game that I loved and became one of my games of the year. I liked it for less conventional and bizarre reasons. My adoration for it was more based in the characters and their bond of brotherhood than the actual story itself. Since the release, however, there have been a number of DLCs released and lots of little bits and pieces. Oh no. Noctis, what happened to you? Anyway, episode Prompto.
Nice. Oh.
Episode Prompto focuses on, well, Prompto, surprisingly, and what he got up to after he was pushed off of a train in the main game.
Prompto!
Other than dying of a broken heart. Our precious angel, Prompto, is lost in the frozen plains, struggling to survive when he is found by Nif soldiers and taken to their base for what I can only assume to be sexy torturing. Like in Metal Gear Solid 2.
This is my son. I taught him everything.
Instead, Arden comes around to primarily taunt Prompto and try and destroy him with his secret past.
But fear not, I've no doubt a reunion would refresh your memory.
And this is what a lot of episode Prompto is. It's a strong emotional mission as you explore Prompto's past as well as his own insecurities. Watching this normally upbeat prankster and jokester be completely isolated and alone from his friends, just no longer having to put up this facade of happy-go-lucky boy and having to deal with the worries that maybe his friends don't actually like him anymore. It's also, though, about being this really cool, super secret spy. With a gun. We get a chance to control Prompto and get a full display of how much of a sharpshooter he really is and his exquisite gunmanship. Seriously though, how many bullets is this meant to take? But using weapons isn't Prompto's only weapon, as it were. He also does a lot of sneaking around and grappling an enemy, taking them into a fierce embrace as he grapples them to the floor. Which, let's be honest, doesn't sound all that bad, really. Okay, maybe I'm not so into it. There's a lot to play around with in episode Prompto, as you can quickly grab enemy weapons from around the map, or maybe even take a more direct approach. These add a lot of variety to the combat as you rapidly swap between popping headshots with a machine gun to popping headshots with a sniper rifle, like you're some kind of Solid Snake, or maybe Revolver Ocelot? Or whoever uses a rocket launcher, I don't know.
Never miss!
Either way though, I never thought I'd be so focused on getting headshots in a Final Fantasy game. And yet, here I am. It's not entirely just a straight corridor of shooting and stealth hugs. No, instead, episode Prompto does involve quite a bit of the open world. Yes, in an attempt to make this DLC extra larger, we're given a massive snowy mountainscape to explore, filled with optional side quests and activities, as well as particularly tough bosses for you to blast multiple rockets into, smashing through the snow aboard your snowmobile, so there's nothing really wrong. It's no crazy motorcycle though. The snowmobile is surprisingly fun. Prompto ends up feeling like he's in some kind of high-octane James Bond film as he jumps over ridges as missiles explode behind him, and it feels like you've become a true super spy. But then the snowmobile lightly touches a rock and it'll flip into the air and spin out of control because, at the end of the day, it's a little bit wonky. The open world provides enough extra bits and pieces for you to get knee-deep into if you want to enjoy more of the game, and some of the tougher bosses can be quite interesting to deal with. You know, I bought this coat without realizing it looked exactly like the one that Prompto had in this DLC, so I kind of thought it would be funny if maybe I dressed up as him for the video. The thing is though, it didn't really work out, and if anything, I'm just like a shit nerd in shit cosplay. You know what? No, I'm no nerd. Gosh, I'm cold. I was meant to film this in the snow. It never snows in Britain. I'm going back inside.
It's freezing out here.
Episode Prompto is a lot better than its muscular predecessor, as there just feels like there's a lot more soul and character to it. This entire epic quest doesn't involve Prompto alone, as you might have a surprise visit from the best girl, that is Aranea, who occasionally turns up to kind of give some inspiring words, maybe give Prompto a kick in the right direction, be a total badass, and just drove the odd snowmobile.
You always play hard to get like this?
Episode Prompto was good. The combat was quite fun because it was different and stylized enough that it was actually quite refreshing and enjoyable. You've got Prompto, who is this delicate and such emotional character, you can't help but feel his pain with every struggle he has to go through. That said, the resident best boy's sense of fun isn't entirely lost in this emotional snowscape, because mid-combat you can suddenly just kind of pop out your camera and take a cheeky selfie with an enemy or two, or a giant beast if you want. So it sounds like it's all good and gravy. I mean, hot damn! It's definitely longer and has a lot more to do than episode Gladiolus might have, and yet it just lacks that final piece of impact needed to make this thing great. The snowmobile is a steaming pile, which doesn't help when most of the extra bits and pieces for you to do in this DLC involve traversing by the snowmobile. But the biggest failing, as I mentioned just a moment ago, is that quintessential lack of impact. The combat is fun and has these beautiful animations and style and level of detail to everything, but it has quite a strong limitation against bosses. There's not much you can really do to a boss other than blast it with a rocket launcher again and again. The snowmobile is slow and tedious to use, and while the story does have these hard-hitting emotional moments, in the bubble and the confines of the DLC itself, there is just not that big enough final dramatic conclusion to make it brilliant. But it is still a good piece of DLC. I enjoyed it at the very least, and there is a definite gradual increase in quality, which just means I'm looking forward to episode Ignis. Too soon? I'm fairly sure that's a bad thing to say. But do you know what isn't bad? Probably my written write-up of this little DLC, which you can catch in the description down below. Leave a like or a comment if you liked or wanted to comment about this video. And yeah, thank you and goodbye.